What if you could keep your yard growing even through the toughest summer dry spells? The Amish have managed it for centuries without modern sprinklers or non-stop watering. They're hidden 30 basic methods that use every single drop and keep crops strong during harsh droughts. Hack sections: the very first secret the Amish use to save water in their gardens is something so simple. You won't believe how effective it is. It's called the Tinch soil test, and it doesn't require a single tool, gadget, or fancy moisture meter. All you need is your own finger. Here's how it works. Instead of relying on a calendar or some rigid watering schedule, Amish gardeners trust the soil itself to tell them when their plants are thirsty. They push a finger straight down, about 2 inches deep, right beside the plant. That's it. If the soil feels moist at that depth, they leave it alone. But if it feels dry, it's time to water. This might sound almost too basic, but the logic is powerful. The top layer of soil can be deceptive. On hot days, it often looks dry and cracked, like a miniature desert. Many modern gardeners see that and panic, watering immediately. But underneath, the soil may still be holding plenty of moisture. Overwatering at this stage doesn't help plants, it actually weakens them. By using the Tinch test, the Amish avoid this mistake. Their plants learn to send roots deeper into the soil, searching for moisture below the surface. Over time, this creates stronger, more resilient root systems. These roots aren't spoiled by constant shallow watering, so when a real drought hits, they're ready to survive. This one habit also prevents the #1 killer of many gardens, root rot. By not drowning plants unnecessarily, Amish gardeners give them just enough water to thrive. But never so much that the roots sit in soggy soil. Think about that for a moment. A simple touch test, passed down through generations, does it better. Job than expensive technology. That's the genius of Amish gardening wisdom built on patience and observation. Claypot irrigation alahs? Another timeless Amish water-saving secret is the use of claypot irrigation. It's often called alahs. This ancient technique has been practiced for thousands of years in dry regions, and the Amish still rely on it. Today, to keep their gardens thriving through long stretches of hot weather, here's how it works. An unglazed terracotta pot is buried in the ground right next to thirsty crops like tomatoes, peppers, or cucumbers. Only the rim of the pot is left above the surface. Once it's in place, the pot is filled with water, and that's where the magic begins. Because terracotta is porous, the water slowly seeps through the walls of the pot and directly into the surrounding soil at the exact pace. The plants need it. Unlike sprinklers or hoses that lose water to evaporation and runoff, alahs deliver hydration straight to the roots where it matters most. The system practically takes care of itself. When the soil around the pot is dry, water moves out faster. When the soil is already moist, the flow slows down. It's a natural, self-regulating irrigation system that prevents both drought stress and the dangers of overwatering. Amish gardeners often line their vegetable rows with these clay pots, placing them a few feet apart to keep every plant supplied. A single filled alah can keep a large tomato plant happy for up to a week, even in scorching weather. Smaller pots are perfect for herbs and flower beds. The beauty of this method is not only its efficiency, but also its simplicity. Some Amish families even make their own alahs by sealing the drainage hole of a terracotta pot with clay or cork. Once the season ends, they remove the pots, store them safely, and reuse them year after year. In the end, this humble clay pot becomes more than just a container. It's a reliable garden partner that delivers steady hydration with zero waste. Morning-only watering, one of the simplest yet most powerful. Amish gardening secrets has nothing to do with fancy tools at all. It's about timing. For the Amish, watering the garden is not just a chore. It's a ritual, and it always happens. At sunrise, why so early? The answer lies in science and tradition. At dawn, the air is cool. The soil has had the whole night to rest, and evaporation is at its lowest point. Every drop of water given to the plants at that hour sinks deep into the roots instead of vanishing into the warming air. This means less waste, stronger root systems, and healthier plants overall. But the Amish also know what happens if you water at the wrong time. Many beginners make the mistake of watering in the evening, thinking it will help plants drink overnight. In reality, wet leaves and damp soil sitting in cooler night temperatures become the perfect breeding ground for mold, fungus, and pests. The Amish have seen this countless times and avoid it completely by sticking to a morning routine. There's also a rhythm to it. Amish gardeners often rise before dawn, finish their milking or animal chores, and then move straight to watering. By the time the sun is high, the plants are already nourished and ready to face the day's heat. This practice isn't just efficient, it mirrors the Amish lifestyles, steady, disciplined, and in tune with nature's cycles. Another benefit? Morning watering gives the gardener time to observe. As they move through the rows, they notice drooping leaves, insect damage, or early signs of disease. Problems are caught early, long before they spread, so while it may sound simple, this hack transforms the garden. The Amish prove that sometimes the greatest technology is just knowing the right time to act. Crop grouping by thirst, one of the cleverest Amish water-saving strategies, is something most home gardeners overlook: plant placement based on thirst. Instead of scattering crops randomly across the garden, the Amish carefully group them according to how much water they need. For example, water-hungry vegetables like celery, cucumbers, lettuce are planted in the same area. These thirsty crops can then be watered efficiently at once, without soaking the entire garden. Just a focused application in this zone ensures they get what they need. On the other hand, drought-tolerant plants like beans, peas, onions, and many herbs are grouped in a separate zone. These crops naturally thrive with less water, so they're kept away from the heavy drinkers. This prevents waste and also keeps plants healthier, because overwatering a drought-tolerant crop can be just as damaging as underwatering a thirsty one. There's also a smart secondary benefit. By grouping plants with similar needs, the Amish can fine-tune their soil and mulching strategies. The hither section might get heavier compost and thicker mulch, while the drought-tolerant zone might be mulched more lightly to prevent excess moisture. It's a system that reduces not just water use, but overall garden maintenance. In a drought, this method shines even brighter. When water is scarce, every drop counts. Instead of wasting buckets across the entire plot, Amish gardeners know exactly where to direct their effort. It's precision gardening without fancy irrigation systems, timers, or technology. This approach also simplifies the gardener's daily rhythm. Instead of treating every plant individually, the Amish work in zones. It's easier, faster, and far more sustainable. The lesson is simple. Don't just plant randomly, plant with purpose. Grouping by thirst turns a garden from a water draining struggle into a water-wise system that thrives even in dry times. Mulch blanket. If there's one Amish secret that almost looks too simple to be powerful, it's the mulch blanket. At first glance, it's just a layer of straw, leaves, or grass clippings spread across the garden bed. But in practice, it's like putting armor over your soil. The Amish typically use a 3 to 4 inch layer of mulch, thick enough to block sunlight from hitting the soil directly. This does 3 magical things at once. First, it locks in moisture by slowing evaporation, meaning water stays in the soil much longer than bare dirt ever could. Second, it cools the root zone. On hot summer days, exposed soil bakes like an oven, stressing plants. But under a mulch blanket, the roots stay shaded, cool, and comfortable. And third, mulch suppresses weeds, which are often the biggest thieves of both water and nutrients. Amish farmers often recycle what's freely available: fallen leaves in autumn, cut hay or straw after harvest, even shredded corn stalks. Nothing goes to waste. By laying these materials back on the ground, they're essentially borrowing from nature's own system. In a forest, the soil is never bare. It's always covered by leaf litter that protects and feeds it. The water savings are dramatic. Many Amish gardeners report they can cut their watering almost in half just by mulching properly. And when a drought hits, that difference becomes survival. Instead of soil turning hard and cracked within days, it stays soft, damp, and alive. Under the mulch, it's low-tech, low-cost, and high-impact. Just a simple 4-inch mulch blanket can transform your garden into a water-saving powerhouse. The Amish know. If you want to win against droughts, start by covering your soil. Soil shading with stones or boards in Amish gardens. Nothing is wasted, not even old boards or discarded stones. What many people might toss aside, the Amish turn into a powerful water-saving tool: soil shading. By laying flat stones, wooden, planks, or scrap boards on top of the soil between plants, they create a natural shield against heat and evaporation. Here's why it works. Bare soil, especially in the middle of summer, heats up like an oven. That heat pulls moisture upward, drying out the ground in hours. But when stones or boards cover the surface, they act like a roof. The soil beneath stays shaded, cooler, and far more moist. The difference can be dramatic. Under a stone, soil can remain damp for days longer than exposed ground just inches away. Amish gardeners often place stones around the base of thirsty crops, like cucumbers or squash. Wooden scraps, too, find a second life laid between rows to protect pathways and retain moisture in the root zones nearby. This method doesn't just save water. It also reduces weed growth by cutting off sunlight to unwanted plants. Another hidden benefit is recycling with purpose. Instead of buying commercial mulch or plastic covers, the Amish reuse what they already have. Broken barn boards, flat field stones, or leftover lumber all become part of the garden ecosystem. Over time, wood breaks down, feeding the soil. While stones provide permanent protection that can be moved season after season, it's a solution that's as practical as it is sustainable. It's with no extra cost, no technology, and no waste. Amish gardeners turn simple scraps into a water-conserving shield. The lesson is clear. Sometimes the best mulch isn't something you buy, it's something you already have lying around. Gray water recycling for the Amish: water is too valuable to use just once. That's why they practice gray water recycling. Careful reuse of water that most households would simply throw away in Amish kitchens. Nothing goes down the drain without thought. The leftover water from boiling pasta, rinsing vegetables, or even washing hands is collected in buckets and carried straight to the garden. To them, this isn't waste, it's a second harvest of water. Often that water is still rich with tiny nutrients. Starchy pasta water or potato water, for example, adds trace minerals that plants happily absorb. By pouring this used water at the base of crops, the Amish reduce their reliance on wells and rainfall. Every drop is stretched to its fullest potential. During dry seasons, this habit becomes a lifeline, ensuring that thirsty crops don't go without. There's also a mindset behind the practice. The Amish live close to the land, and they understand that convenience often comes at the cost of waste. Recycling gray water requires effort carrying buckets. Thinking ahead, but it's exactly that discipline that builds resilience. Of course, they keep it clean. Water containing soaps, bleach, or harsh chemicals is avoided. But for simple rinse water or cooking water, the garden is the perfect destination. In the end, the principle is simple: never waste what can still give life. With gray water recycling, the Amish remind us that conservation isn't about buying new systems, it's about valuing what we already have. Soil bowls around plants, sometimes the simplest ideas are the most effective. The Amish often shape the soil itself into a tool by creating small bowls or basins around the base of each plant. These shallow depressions act like tiny reservoirs, catching and holding water right where the roots can drink it. Instead of water running off across the surface or spreading too thinly, it collects inside the bowl and slowly seeps down into the soil. This ensures maximum absorption and minimal waste. In dry weather, even a single bucket of water can be stretched further because every drop is directed exactly where it's needed. The method also protects plants during sudden rains. Without bowls, heavy showers often rush past the roots, leaving soil eroded and plants thirsty afterward. With bowls, that water is trapped and stored. Tomatoes, peppers, and fruit trees especially benefit as their deeper roots can draw on the moisture long after the surface is dried. Best of all, soil bowls cost nothing. No tools, no technology, just a gardener's hands and a little shaping of the earth. It's a humble trick, but in Amish gardens, it's one of the quiet secrets to thriving crops in every season. DIY drip hoses for the Amish. Irrigation doesn't require expensive gadgets or store-bought systems. Instead, they turn old, worn-out garden hoses into DIY drip irrigation lines. The idea is brilliantly simple. Punch small holes along the length of a retired hose, lay it at the base of your plants, and let the water flow slowly. This method delivers moisture directly to the roots instead of spraying it into the air. Because the release is gradual, the soil has time to absorb every drop. There's no runoff, no puddles, and no wasted water evaporating in the sun. Just steady hydration where it counts most. The Amish often weave these hoses through rows of vegetables, or coil them around thirsty crops like tomatoes and cucumbers. With the water pressure kept low, the hose becomes a self-regulating system, trickling enough to nourish without flooding. What makes it even smarter is the philosophy behind it. Reuse before you replace. Instead of throwing away a cracked or leaky hose, it finds a new life as a precision watering tool. No extra cost. No waste, just practical problem-solving. It's a hack that proves sustainability doesn't need sophistication. With a little creativity, even an old hose can become the lifeline of a thriving Amish garden. Smart plant shading in Amish gardens. Plants don't just grow side by side, they work for each other. One of their clever tricks is using tall crops to provide natural shade for delicate, water-sensitive plants. It's like building a living umbrella system. For example, tall beans, corn, or sunflowers are planted in rows that cast cooling shade on tender crops such as lettuce, spinach, and herbs. These leafy greens are notorious for wilting or bolting in hot sun. By tucking them under taller neighbors, the Amish reduce heat stress and cut water needs dramatically. Shaded soil holds moisture longer, meaning fewer trips with the watering can. This method mimics how nature works. In forests, big trees shelter smaller plants, creating a layered ecosystem where moisture is conserved. The Amish simply borrow that wisdom for their food gardens. The result is healthier lettuce, sweeter herbs, stronger yields, overall without using artificial shade cloths or plastic covers. It's efficient, it's free, and sustainable. Instead of battling the sun with extra watering, the Amish let their plants handle it for them. Smart plant shading turns every tall stalk into a water-saving alley and proves that sometimes the best garden tools are the plants themselves. Before we move on to the next Amish water-saving hack, I want to pause for a moment and share something important with you. Here's the truth. Everything we've been talking about so far, the simple tricks, forgotten methods, the practical skills are part of a much bigger picture. Modern life has made us dependent on gadgets, chemicals, and store-bought fixes. But when supply chains break, or when droughts, storms, or crises strike, those things disappear. What doesn't disappear are old skills and old knowledge. The heart of the video is the 30 hacks, broken into theme sections like watering, soil care, plant grouping, recycling, and natural protection. Each hack is practical, visual, and easy to explain in 200 to 300 words. With narration paced slowly and paired with relevant visuals, each tip takes 60 to 90 seconds to cover. Together, this core section comfortably runs 35 to 38 minutes. Around the halfway mark, we add a mid-promotion insert. It fits naturally as part of the theme of preserving old knowledge, so it feels like an extension, not a distraction. Finally, we close with a wrap-up of encouragement, reminding viewers that even small steps can revive forgotten wisdom and make them more self-reliant today. And there you have it, 30 timeless Amish hacks that prove you don't need gadgets or chemicals to grow strong, resilient food. These are not just tricks for gardening. They're lessons in living simpler, wiser, closer to the land. If even one of these ideas inspired you, imagine what applying several could do for your garden and your family's future. Start small, stay consistent, and watch the results. If you found this valuable, share it with a friend. Subscribe for more old world wisdom, and don't forget to check our channel description for the resources we recommend.